Look at this. Everyone's watching the race between the US and China to dominate artificial intelligence. Trillions of dollars at stake. Cutting-edge research. The future of war, business, and even human consciousness. This isn't just tech, it's the new nuclear arms race. But there's one country people seem to have forgotten in all of this. Russia. And that might be the biggest mistake of all. Because while the spotlight stays fixed on Silicon Valley and Beijing, Russia's playing a different game. One that looks broken and backward on the surface, but hides something much darker underneath. At first glance, Russia's AI strategy looks like a mess. Outdated systems, failed projects, brain drain, and barely any global recognition. And yet, there's a strange confidence coming out of the Kremlin. A confidence that doesn't match their results. Why? Because Russia's not trying to compete with ChatGPT or impress investors. They're doing something else. Something that doesn't require civilian dominance. Something designed to control, not create. In this video, we'll break down the real reasons why Russia's AI is failing in public, and what that failure is covering up. And at the end, we'll reveal a leaked secret from Russia's AI roadmap that changes everything. It was never meant to go public, but it's out, and it's dangerous. So watch until the very end. And if you're wondering what happens when you take a crumbling AI system and plug it into a battlefield, well, that's part 2. So subscribe now so you don't miss what's coming next. The GigaChat illusion. Let's start with the most hyped up part of Russia's AI plan, GigaChat Max. Unveiled by the state-backed banking giant Sberbank in 2023, GigaChat was supposed to be Russia's grand response to ChatGPT, a homegrown sovereign language model built to rival Silicon Valley's dominance. National media hailed it as a breakthrough. State officials called it a turning point in Russian AI, but reality told a different story. On paper, GigaChat Max looked promising. Trained on massive Russian language datasets, access to high-end computing power via Russia's top supercomputers, backed by billions in funding and political will. But when experts actually tested it, the model didn't just fall short, it barely registered. On core language benchmarks, GigaChat Max placed joint 8th best in Russian-only tasks, and in English, it wasn't even worth ranking. One AI researcher who reviewed the model called it unremarkable at best. Another said it resembled something from 2 years ago. In the fast-moving world of AI that's ancient,
there is a huge gap between Russia's strategic messaging on AI and what's actually being implemented. It's mostly noise, very little signal. Samuel Bendit, advisor at CNA and Russian military tech analyst.
That gap between message and reality is more than just embarrassment. It reveals something deeper. Russia is struggling to keep up not just with the US and China, but even smaller players like the UAE or South Korea. And it wasn't just GigaChat. Russia's other language tools, like Yandex's neural models or the speech assistants built by vContact, all fell behind global standards. They worked, but they lacked sophistication, depth, and adaptability, things we take for granted in GPT-4 or Claude. Even Business Insider bluntly reported,
GigaChat Max is unremarkable, far behind most leading Western and Chinese LLMs on some benchmarks. On Business Insider, February 2025.
And while the Kremlin continues to boast about AI sovereignty, the reality is that Russia is years behind, even in its own language. But what's really holding them back? It's not just the models, it's the machine behind the models, and that's where the cracks get even deeper. Behind the curtain, infrastructure gaps. So if Russia's language models are weak, could the problem be hardware? The answer is absolutely. Russia has a few standout machines. The crown jewel is Christofari Neo, a massive supercomputer developed by SpareCloud. Equipped with NVIDIA A100 GPUs, it boasts over 11 petaflops of computing power. For context, that's strong enough to train advanced AI models, at least on paper. But here's the catch. 1 or 2 supercomputers don't make you a global AI leader. While the US and China are building entire networks of AI data centers, thousands of nodes across government, academia, and private industry, Russia's computing power is tightly centralized. Christofari and its cousin systems are state-controlled, largely inaccessible to independent researchers or startups. That lack of infrastructure diversity is like trying to run a space program with just one rocket launch pad. If something fails or gets blocked, it all collapses. And that brings us to the sanctions. After the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, Russia was cut off from nearly all Western tech exports. That includes advanced semiconductors, GPUs, and even basic AI components like tensor cores. No NVIDIA, no AMD, no Intel Xeon. These chips are essential for training any model that can compete with GPT-4 or Claude. Instead, Russian developers are left scraping together outdated hardware, relying on black market parts or reverse engineering old tech. That's not innovation, it's survival mode. Even when they do manage to import components through third-party countries, the volume and quality are nowhere near competitive. And time matters in AI. A 6-month delay in training a model is a death sentence. By the time Russia gets the parts, the rest of the world is already on to the next generation. And it doesn't stop with chips. Russia's entire AI infrastructure is fractured. Their internet isn't fully open. Their cloud services are either state-run or under strict surveillance. And most top-tier AI tools like TensorFlow, PyTorch, or OpenAI APIs are geo-blocked, monitored, or outright banned. In short, the hardware is outdated, the ecosystem is limited, and the tools are falling apart. It's like building a race car with bicycle parts and then trying to win Formula One. But here's where things get really painful. The talent exodus. Even if Russia had all the right machines, none of it would matter without the people to run them. And right now, Russia is bleeding talent faster than it can replace it. In the wake of the Ukraine war, tech sanctions didn't just cut off hardware, they triggered a massive brain drain. Thousands of scientists, AI engineers, and data experts packed their bags and left the country. Some went to Georgia, others to Germany, many to the UAE, Armenia, or Turkey. According to estimates from the Russian Association of Electronic Communications, nearly 10% of the country's tech workforce left in 2022 alone. That's tens of thousands of highly skilled minds, gone overnight. Why? Because no one wants to build world-changing technology in a place where their work is monitored by the state, their algorithms might be weaponized, their careers are cut short by political chaos. For AI engineers, creativity matters, global collaboration matters. But in Russia, both are shrinking fast, and the pipeline isn't recovering. In 2022, Russia graduated just 3,000 AI-related specialists. For comparison, China graduates over 100,000 STEM PhDs every year. The US produces over 70,000 AI-capable professionals annually, and even mid-sized nations like South Korea and Israel are catching up fast. That number, 3,000, isn't enough to run a national AI program. It's barely enough to sustain a single enterprise. And the few students who do enter the field often find themselves trapped in bureaucratic webs, outdated curriculums, or forced into government contracts that limit their innovation. The most ambitious among them, they leave. Or worse, they never start. It's a silent collapse. No explosions, no headlines. Just a slow, relentless loss of brainpower, one mind at a time. And it raises a dangerous question. If Russia can't build cutting-edge civilian AI, what kind of systems is it building instead? The answer lies not in open-source tools or university labs, but in the dark corners of its military-industrial complex. And that's coming up next. The funding drought. Here's the part that surprises a lot of people. Russia talks big about investing in AI, but when you follow the money, there's not much to find. The Kremlin's official AI strategy sounds ambitious. Launched in 2019, it laid out bold goals: develop sovereign LLMs, lead in AI education, become a global leader in artificial intelligence by 2030. But all of that rests on one critical element: funding. And that's where the entire strategy falls apart. Compared to the US on China or the European Union, Russia spends a fraction of what's needed. According to comparative R&D analyses from the EU Commission, Russia's public AI funding is at least 3 to 5 times lower than its competitors. Some reports suggest the gap is even wider. And most of that limited funding? It flows to just a handful of institutions, primarily Sberbank, Rostec, and government-affiliated labs like Skolkovo Institute of Science and Technology, Skoltech. That leaves very little for startups, independent researchers, or academic freedom. It's a top-down, rigid ecosystem that relies on central control, not open innovation. Think about it. In the US continent, companies like OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Anthropic, and Meta all compete in the same space. The friction between them fuels faster breakthroughs. In Russia, there's almost no competition and no outside pressure to improve. That's why you don't see breakthroughs coming out of Moscow the way you do from San Francisco or Shenzhen. Even Skolkovo, the country's most visible tech incubator, is under pressure. Originally founded with help from MIT, it was meant to be Russia's version of Silicon Valley. But with sanctions, travel restrictions, and talent drain, the project has slowed dramatically. Private capital has also dried up. Tech investors are fleeing Russia as sanctions make returns harder, partnerships riskier, and reputations more fragile. And without private money to challenge state dominance, progress freezes. So, on paper, Russia has a national AI plan. But in reality, that plan is just words. The budget isn't there, the freedom isn't there, and the motivation is starting to vanish. But what is being built is far more tightly controlled and far more dangerous. The military-first mentality. This is where the story takes a sharp turn. While Russia's civilian AI efforts lag behind, there's one area where the country continues to invest heavily: military AI. In fact, for over a decade, Russia's most advanced AI research has been funneled into defense systems. Not public products, not educational tools, but weapons. They've been experimenting with autonomous drones, AI-assisted targeting systems, real-time battlefield analysis, and even robotic tanks. The Russian Ministry of Defense has its own AI roadmap, one that's largely hidden from the public and often escapes media attention. It's not that their models are better, it's that their goals are different. The US and China are racing to build generative AI tools that serve civilians first. Apps, writing tools, research aids. Russia? It's focused on combat advantage. For example, AI systems are reportedly being trained to interpret live drone feeds, predict enemy troop movements, and even recommend strike paths in near real time. These tools don't require GPT-4 level sophistication. They just need fast, functional logic under pressure. According to leaked defense memos, some of Russia's most advanced battlefield AI systems are already being tested in live conflict zones, including Ukraine. And that battlefield training gives them something OpenAI doesn't have: war data. Real, unfiltered, high-stakes input that updates daily. Troop movements, satellite scans, intercepted comms. It's a training set no civilian model could ever access, nor would be allowed to. This shift toward military-first AI is deliberate. It's part of what Russia calls asymmetric AI warfare. Not building better models than your enemy, but building models that disrupt, destabilize, and deceive. In fact, one analyst from the Center for Naval Analyses put it bluntly:
Russia doesn't need the best AI, it just needs AI good enough to cause chaos. Anonymous defense source paraphrased in leaked CNA brief.
And if you're wondering what that chaos looks like in practice, how AI can be used for psychological warfare, drone swarms, and digital misinformation, you'll want to subscribe now, because in Part 2, we'll expose the darker side of Russia's AI arsenal, falling in global rankings. For all of Russia's bold claims about AI dominance, the numbers tell a different story. In the most recent Tortoise Global AI Index, a comprehensive ranking of nations by AI capability, investment, research, and infrastructure, Russia came in 31st, not 3rd, not 10th, 31st, behind the US obviously, behind China of course, but also behind France, the UK, Germany, South Korea, Israel, even the United Arab Emirates. This is a staggering fall for a country that once claimed to rival the US in Cold War-era science. And it isn't just a single metric, it's the cumulative result of weak models like GigaChat Max, a lack of AI specialists and engineers, infrastructure limited by sanctions, and the overwhelming prioritization of military AI over civilian innovation. What's even more alarming is that Russia isn't trying to reverse this slide. In fact, some experts believe it's intentional. Why spend resources chasing open, ethical, global AI standards when you can invest in closed-loop military tools designed to disrupt and destabilize your rivals? Russia isn't building AI to enhance the human experience. It's building it to win asymmetrical wars. This strategy doesn't win headlines, but it does win influence in back channels, on battlefields, and in chaotic online spaces where truth and fiction blur. It's the AI arms race, but in reverse. Not a race to the top, but a race to the shadows. So if this video opened your eyes, hit that like button. It helps more people see what's really happening in this global AI war. And more importantly, subscribe now, because in the next video we're going into territory no one else is covering. Russia's secret AI warfare systems, battlefield loops, and the weaponized alliance with China that could tip the global balance in ways the public has no idea about. You're not going to want to miss that. So, take a deep breath, check out the links in the description, and see you next time.